All right, let me show you how to create the God tier editor's transition. You could also call it the narrator's transition, the editor's cut. It unfortunately is not going to
give you the Morgan Freeman-esque voice that a narrator should have.
But it's still a cool cut. Let me show it to you again. How you actually create it is very simple. It's more important why you do it, kind of when you do it. And of course, you do not want to overdo it. Let's dive into it. Video sponsored by Squarespace. I'll show you exactly how to do it in just a second, how to shoot it, how to edit it. But when it comes to the why to use this, you're really using it as a way to give more context to whatever it is you're editing. So I started using it in vlogging when I feel like I didn't explain very well whatever it was I was trying to explain on the day of the vlog. And I, as the editor, now needed to come in and give some added context. So it's very practical in that way. For this behind the scenes look, as you can see here, first I'm going to the frame that I want to come out of, right, on the computer. So I'm in my editor, I'm gonna go to that frame. Once I've chosen the frame, I'm holding my camera right up, pretty close to the screen, making sure it focuses on that, and then pulling away from that to reveal myself, my editor self, and then talking just like normal. It is that simple in terms of shooting it. And what's cool about it is that you don't need to know that you're going to do this transition before you actually do it. That's why it's the editor's transition. So that is how easy it is to capture this thing. Let me show you a couple of tricks and tips on how to edit it right after I tell you about the sponsor of the video, Squarespace. With the new Fluid Engine from Squarespace, making the website of your dreams has never been easier. You start out with this professionally designed template. You don't need to know how to code, already made for you. And then you can tweak it using this brand new UI, drag and drop, easy to use. Your website is gonna work on both desktop and mobile, which is absolutely crucial. You can schedule appointments through your site, offer private sessions, coaching calls, workshops, and then when you're ready to make some tweaks and improvements, the analytics suite inside Squarespace is second to none. If you want to try it out, go to squarespace.com/CodyWarner, and then when you're ready to buy, use the code CodyWarner to get 10% off your first purchase of a domain or website. All right, so now you already had that first clip in the timeline, right? So you're gonna bring in your new second clip, get your end point set to right before you pull away from the screen, drop that down into your timeline right after that frame that you pulled away from. Now you wouldn't necessarily have to retime the portion of the clip where you're pulling away, but I felt like I pulled away just a little bit too slow. I wanted it to go a little bit faster, this transition. So I'm just gonna blade right here before I start talking and then hit Command R and retime this a little bit faster. Go back here, play it, make sure it sort of makes sense. Now we gotta match up the frame size since we left a little bit of space, so we're gonna do that with keyframes. So come to the very last frame before editor you starts talking, go up here to your inspector and click the little film strip to show the video inspector. Come down here to transform, and again, with your last frame selected, turn keyframes on next to position, rotation, and scale. The reason we started at the end is because we know that that's where we want those parameters to get to, so it's a seamless kind of transition into the talking portion. I'm just gonna right click here and show the video animation so that you can see where those keyframes are. They're right there at that last frame. Now at the very beginning of that clip, I am going to turn on keyframes for, again, position, rotation, and scale, and then make these adjustments. The scale's gonna need to come up, the rotation's gonna need to go a little bit clockwise, and then the position's obviously gonna have to change. I like to have a bit of a border around the outside of it because that's what I think works best. But you do you can mess around at this point. Last step here, and this is pretty important, go into your viewer and click on that transform modifier. When you click that, you're gonna be able to see the keyframes that you just set. Hit Command A, which is gonna select all those keyframes in the viewer, right click on one of the keyframes and change that to linear instead of smooth. You could leave it on smooth, you can see what it looks like, but I've seen my clips kind of come off frame and reveal black space around the edges when I've left it on smooth, and I also just don't like the way it looks, so that's why I change everything to linear. Click on done. Let's go back and take a look. Looks absolutely fantastic. Perfect God tier narrator's transition. Whatever you want to call it. Thank you so much for being here. Again, use this, have fun with it, but use it sparingly. And yeah, let's go tell some stories. Let's get this thing.